The blueprint sat on the mahogany desk for 3 days before anyone noticed it was gone. Not the original, the copy. The one with my signature in the corner, the one I'd left on purpose, the one that proved I'd designed the entire system. By the time they found the empty frame, the announcement had already gone out. His name, his vision, his future. I stood in the hallway and watched him walk past, and I understood something then. Some people don't steal your work. They steal your right to claim it ever happened. I was 28 when Marcus hired me. The firm was bleeding money, losing contracts, desperate. He called me into his office, corner view, glass walls, and said he needed someone who could think differently. Someone young enough to take risks. I remember the weight of that compliment. I remember thinking I'd finally arrived somewhere that mattered. He had this way of listening that made you feel like your ideas were the only thing in the room. Later, I'd understand that was the skill he'd actually hired me for. The project was called Meridian, a financial infrastructure system, back-end architecture that would handle real-time settlement across multiple currencies. It was impossible. Everyone said so. The previous team had spent 18 months and produced nothing but failed prototypes. Marcus brought me in and said, "Fix it. No timeline, no budget constraints, just fix it." I worked 80-hour weeks. I redesigned the entire data layer. I built redundancy protocols that shouldn't have worked but did. I was alive in a way I'd never been before. Marcus would visit my desk at midnight. He'd bring coffee. We'd talk through problems for hours. He'd ask questions that made me see angles I'd missed. I thought he was mentoring me. I thought we were building something together. He'd say things like, "This is going to change everything." And I believed him. I believed in him. That was the architecture I should have been paying attention to. Not the system, but the structure of trust he was building around me, brick by brick, until I couldn't see the walls anymore. Meridian went live on a Tuesday. The settlement time dropped from 48 hours to 90 seconds. The market moved, clients called. The firm's stock jumped 12% in a single day. Marcus held a press conference. He stood at a podium with my blueprint projected behind him. My blueprint, my code, my 3 years of failed attempts before the solution. And he talked about vision, about leadership, about the future. He never mentioned my name, not once. I watched from the back of the room and I felt something break that I didn't have a name for yet. The promotion came 2 weeks later, not for me, for Marcus, Senior Vice President. The board wanted to move him up, move him out of operations into strategy. They needed someone to run the day-to-day on Meridian, someone to maintain it, scale it, fix the problems that would inevitably emerge. They offered me the role, not the title, not the salary, just the work. I said yes. I was still naive enough to think that doing the work was enough, that eventually someone would notice, that the truth had weight. But Marcus noticed something else. He noticed that I was the only person who understood the system completely. He noticed that I was indispensable, and he noticed that indispensable people don't leave. They can't. So he started isolating me, slowly. He'd take meetings without me, then brief me afterward with incomplete information. He'd make decisions about the architecture without consultation, then ask me to implement them. He'd praise my work in private and credit the team in public. The team that didn't exist. The team was me. Then came the audit. External firm, routine compliance check. They wanted to understand the system's design philosophy, the decision tree, the reasoning behind each layer. Marcus scheduled the meeting. He told me he'd handle the presentation. I should just be available for technical questions. I sat in the back of the conference room and watched him explain my work using my language, my metaphors, my exact phrasing from the design documents. The auditors took notes. They nodded. One of them asked, "How long did it take you to conceive this architecture?" Marcus said, "About 6 months of intensive thinking." I raised my hand. I said, "Actually, it was 3 years of iteration." The room went quiet. Marcus smiled. He said, "Right, yes, 3 years of the team's work, which I synthesized into the final vision." He'd reframed my correction as confirmation of his leadership. The auditors moved on. But something shifted in me that moment. I understood that I wasn't being erased by accident. I was being erased by design, and the design was working perfectly. I started documenting everything. Every decision, every problem I solved, every late night, every breakthrough. I created a private repository with timestamps, code commits, design notes. I told myself it was for my own protection, but really I was building evidence. I was preparing for a trial I didn't know how to start. I was becoming a witness to my own erasure, and I was taking notes. That's when I should have left. That's when any rational person would have walked away. But I was still waiting for someone to notice. I was still waiting for the truth to matter. The first major failure came 6 months later. A settlement error cascaded through the system. 47 transactions got stuck in a loop. Clients lost access to their funds for 6 hours. It wasn't catastrophic. The redundancy protocols I'd built caught it, but it was visible. It was a problem. Marcus called an emergency meeting. He presented a solution, a patch that would prevent the error from recurring. He presented it as his idea. He presented it as the fix. What he didn't mention was that I'd already identified the root cause and written the patch. He'd taken it from my private repository. He'd accessed my work without permission and claimed it as his own. I confronted him. I went to his office and I said, "That patch was mine. I wrote it 3 days ago." He didn't deny it. He just looked at me and said, "Does it matter?" And I realized he was right. It didn't matter. The patch worked. The system was stable. The clients were happy. My name wasn't on anything. My claim was just noise. He said, "You're a brilliant engineer, but you're not a leader. Leaders take credit. Leaders move forward. You're still looking backward, trying to prove something that doesn't need proving." I quit that night. I sent an email to HR, copied Marcus, and said I was leaving effective immediately. I didn't explain. I didn't accuse. I just left. I thought that was the end. I thought I'd walk away and he'd keep the credit and I'd start over somewhere else and eventually I'd stop caring. But I couldn't stop caring. I couldn't stop thinking about the blueprint on his desk, the one with my signature. I couldn't stop thinking about all the decisions I'd made that he was now making, all the problems I'd solved that he was now solving, all the future I'd built that he was now living. 3 months later, I got a call from someone I didn't know, a journalist. She said she'd been investigating Marcus for a story about corporate credit theft. She said she'd found patterns, multiple projects, multiple engineers, all the same structure, all the same erasure. She said she had documentation. She said she wanted to talk to me. I almost hung up. I almost said no. But then I thought about the blueprint. I thought about the 3 years. I thought about the question he'd asked. Does it matter? And I said yes, it matters. I gave her everything. The repository, the timestamps, the code commits with my name, the design documents, the emails where I'd explained my thinking to Marcus, and the presentations where he'd used that exact thinking without attribution. I gave her the audit transcript. I gave her the names of 3 other engineers who'd left the firm under similar circumstances. I gave her the architecture of his theft. She listened to all of it, and then she asked me the question I'd been avoiding. Why did you stay so long? I didn't have a good answer. I just said I kept thinking he'd eventually acknowledge it. The story ran on a Friday. The Invisible Architects: How One Executive Built His Career on Stolen Innovation. It had my name. It had the other engineers' names. It had the code. It had the timeline. It had Marcus's own words taken from internal emails where he'd explicitly discussed the strategy of taking credit for teamwork. The firm's stock dropped 8%. The board launched an investigation. Marcus was placed on administrative leave pending review. I read the article 3 times. I waited to feel something. Vindication, relief, justice. What I felt was empty. The investigation took 6 weeks. They interviewed everyone. They reviewed the code. They traced every decision back to its source. They found that Marcus had done this before, at his previous firm, at the one before that. There was a pattern. There was intent. The board fired him. They offered me his position. They offered me a public apology. They offered me a settlement. I took the position. I took the apology. I didn't take the settlement. I wanted to earn what came next. But before I accepted, I asked to meet with Marcus. He agreed. We sat in a conference room, not his office, not mine, neutral ground. He looked smaller than I remembered. He said, "I knew you'd figure it out eventually. I just thought I'd have more time." I asked him why. Why take credit? Why not just let the work speak for itself? He said, "Because work doesn't speak. People do. And people only listen to people with titles. I didn't have a title when I started. I had to build one." He wasn't apologizing. He was explaining. He was telling me the logic of his theft, and it was coherent. It was human. It was the thing that made it worse. I became VP of architecture. I rebuilt the team. I hired the other engineers who'd left. I made sure their names were on everything. I changed the firm's policy on attribution. I made it impossible to steal credit the way Marcus had stolen mine. I thought that would be enough. I thought that would be justice. But justice isn't about fixing the system. It's about acknowledging what was taken. And what was taken from me wasn't just credit, it was time. It was 3 years of believing that my work would speak for itself. It was the belief that truth had weight. And when I think about that blueprint on his desk, the one with my signature in the corner, I don't think about the theft anymore. I think about the moment I realized that signatures don't matter. What matters is who gets to tell the story. Marcus told the story first. He told it with confidence. He told it with authority. He told it so well that everyone believed it. I had to take the story back. I had to make people listen. I had to become the narrator of my own work. Some lessons cost more than others. This one cost everything.